It's rarely that I have a message, a series, not so much a sermon, but a message that becomes a part of the fabric of my character, as this one has. The danger of unholy alliances. I'm going to try to finish that today. I could finish it in the next 20 minutes. I'm going to probably be a little longer than 20 minutes because I got a lot I want to say to you, but I was on the airplane at 37,000 feet preaching this in my mind. I went to bed last night. I sat on my back porch and preached it to myself again. I cut my little computer on and listened to the text again and just said, Lord, I just think, it's good when the word can impact the word bearer. I wouldn't give you a dime and a 10-cent cup of coffee for a preacher that preaches and can't feel it himself in order to first impact us as individuals. And so let me take my time a little bit. I won't bore you because we've got communion to do and ministry and giving and are the Cowboys playing today anywhere? Are they playing? At what time? Well, maybe, is it going to be on television? Well, maybe this is going to be a short message after all. Thank you very much. Believe I will. The danger of unholy alliances. The word alliance is rightly defined, and you should be writing. I'm going to be teaching and may not do much hooping, but I just want you to get this thing. I want you to get it because some of you all, as Shirley Caesar would say, are next in line for a miracle. But tell somebody near and say, don't blow it. Don't blow it. Don't lose your place in line hanging out in the wrong line. Tony, where you go? I want you to be finding that song for me. You're next in line for a miracle. Later on, I'm going to hear that. But the word alliance is rightly defined as a union to promote common interests. An alliance should not be a one-sided affair, benefiting only one party. When you hear the phrase ulterior motives, when you hear the phrase ulterior motives, what comes to mind? Another agenda, another reason. The dictionary says it is simply going beyond what is openly said. Write that phrase down, ulterior motives. You got to be careful in hanging out with people who are gravitating toward you, but they're doing it with ulterior motives. Some folk want to be around you and get in your close circle because they want to know your business. So they'll be able to expose some of the things you've said to them in private. And they want to use it to your detriment. That's an unholy alliance. That's an ill-advised alliance. Come on down front, Mama, if you want to come down front. You ain't got to sit way back there. If you're good there, stay there. All right. And so I want to say to you in this text today, you're going to find perhaps that there was some ulterior motives involved in one of the principal players in this drama. We are in 2 Chronicles 18. And before you go to 2 Chronicles 18, flip over to chapter 17. 2 Chronicles chapter 17, verse 3. gives you a predication for 2 Chronicles 18. Let me give you a moment to find it. Not 2 Corinthians, but 2 Chronicles. It's in the First Testament. If you get close to something and say, I, John, was in the Isle of Patmos, you're in the wrong testament. Man, First Chronicles. I'm sorry, 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. Look at chapter 17 as a predication. 2 Chronicles 17, verse 3. And the Lord was with Jehoshaphat for a reason. God is with us for a reason. We can violate his reason and cause God to depart from us. You don't want to do nothing that's going to make God decide I can't hang around them right now because they're hanging out with some bad folk. 2 Chronicles 17, you got that? And the Lord was with Jehoshaphat. Why? Because he walked in his commandments. Therefore, the Lord established his kingdom in his hand. And all Judah brought to Jehoshaphat presents. And he had riches and honor in abundance. How like that? What more from a tangible aspect could you want out of life? And he had riches and honor in abundance, and his heart was lifted up in the ways of the Lord. Is that the text? Verse 5, the B clause. I know you'd like to be here right now today. And all Judah brought to Jehoshaphat presents. When the last time somebody brought you a present? Maybe you're hanging out with the wrong folk. And all Judah brought to Jehoshaphat presents, and he had riches and honor in abundance. This guy had it going on. Sometimes when things are going right, we do stupid things to mess them up. We just do crazy things to mess up the good things. I'm glad my wife is here today with her shouting self. She's been sick the last couple of weeks, and I guess she was getting that shout out that she'd been holding while she was incapacitated. 2 Chronicles chapter 18. The predication for this is in 2 Chronicles 17 and 3. Now Jehoshaphat, verse 1, had great wealth and honor. And this is the NIV version, New International Version. And he allied himself with Ahab, bad guy, by marriage. Verse 2, some years later, he went down to see Ahab in Samaria. Ahab fixed some chitlins and collard greens and cornbread and some pork ribs and some baby back rib, some tater salad, and some hot water cornbread, and made some ghetto fabulous iced tea. Ghetto fabulous. That's in today's parlance. Jehoshaphat went down to see Ahab in Samaria. Ahab slaughtered many sheep and cattle for him and the people with him. Ulterior motive, up jumped the boogie. Slaughtered many sheep, am I in the text? And cattle with him, and the people with him, and urged, he didn't, how many of you know that nothing is free? Yeah. Nothing is free. Sometimes folk will give you with the right hand, got the left hand behind their back, and that's the hand you got to worry about. slaughtered many sheep and cattle for him and the people who came to supper with him, and urged him to attack Ramoth Gilead. Ulterior motive. Ain't nothing free that the devil gives you. He's always got an ulterior motive. Ahab slaughtered many sheep and cattle for him and the people with him, and urged him to attack Ramoth Gilead. First thing you need to know, that this alliance, nor this marriage in our text, was sanctioned by God. God didn't tell Jehoshaphat to ally himself with this bad king. So you got to wonder, a man who was so favored by God, why would he do something like this that might jeopardize his relationship with God? Let me stop and say this parenthetically. And I'm going to teach you about this later in the days to come, because I don't think some of you fully understand what it means. How many of you here today, and if you don't feel comfortable in raising your hand, that's all right, really feel that from time to time you can sense, as you know what it is in your mind, the anointing of God in your life? All right, there's a lot of y'all hands going up. How many of you truthful people now can say you ain't got a clue what is meant by the anointing? Thank you, son. Thank you. All the rest of y'all know. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this later. Put your hands back up again so I can see the y'all that don't know what it is. Thank you. That's some more honest folk. More. Now y'all getting honest, ain't you? Okay. I'm gonna talk to you about that, because I think that there may be a group here that have not been versed in church jargon, and they're unclear on what this phraseology is, the anointing. They just know whenever people say it and talk about it, folk tend to get happy and think something good is going to happen. Well, let me tell you, you can have an anointing from God that God gives you, and empowerment for a specific challenge, but you can do something that will nullify that anointing in your life. You got me? So let's just say, for a short key answer, that the anointing is analogous to Popeye's spinach. You know Popeye's spinach. When Popeye was going to fight Bluto over that skinny woman olive oil, and only Joe Tex can talk about skinny legs and all, but when Popeye was going to fight Bluto, he went in his vest pocket and pulled out a can of, and said, I've had all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. And then he squeezed that can. I never could understand, if you ain't got enough strength to fight Bluto, how you got enough strength to squeeze that can with one hand and the spinach comes out? I mean, greater minds know this than I do. So let's just say that the anointing is analogous to Popeye's spinach. And when you have that anointing, or the anointing comes upon you, or the anointing intervenes, it simply infers that whatever challenge that you are dealing with, you're going to become the victor. Can you feel me? You can have an anointing for a season, but you can do something that will violate that anointing, and you'll go out like you did before and find out that ain't nothing happening. If you are void of God's anointing and try to go out and wage war against Satan, Satan will send you back. In the days to come, I'll be talking to you about demon spirits, disembodied spirits. And I will caution you about laying hands suddenly on people that you believe have got spirits in them. If you don't have the anointing, you better keep your hands to yourself, put them in your pocket, put them across your chest, and say, Lord, cover me. Because and I don't mean to get off on this, but when these spirits are cast out, they'll go out looking for dry places, and if they can't find none somewhere, they'll come back to the house that they just left, and they'll bring 7 more spirits with them. So let me get back to this. So Jehoshaphat was favored by God. In this text, an ulterior motive came up. Ahab, bad guy, invited him down to dinner. And then he popped the question, come on, go with me to Ramoth Gilead and fight with me. Yeah. Verse 3, Ahab, king of Israel, asked Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, will you go with me against Ramoth Gilead? How many of y'all believe it's right to seek God for direction? Okay, we all agree with that. How many of you all practice the habit of seeking God for direction? Oh, good. Now here comes the clincher. How many of you always do what the Lord tells you when he sends you the answer? Jehoshaphat, look at the text, verse 3, was asked by Ahab, the bad guy, go with me against Ramoth Gilead. Now here is where the problem comes in. Jehoshaphat, the good guy, committed himself by answer, but he utilized the wrong methodology. Look at the text. And Jehoshaphat replied, doesn't say he did nothing in between this phrase. I am as you are, and my people as your people. We will join you in the war. What did he just do? He just committed himself. Let me tell you, and you know I may not finish it, because I want you to get that there's so much here. This text is so pregnant with purpose. One of the worst things you can do is commit yourself to doing something before you check with the Lord. Now here's the problem. Some folk honestly don't know how to ascertain what God's will is for them in a certain situation. In this text, Jehoshaphat says, and this is a good guy, he's a church boy, almost without thinking, he said, all right, I'll go with you. My people and I are just like your people. Let me tell you something, saints. Don't you let nobody get a hold on you like that. To where before you check with God, you will ally yourself with him. You got some people just waiting to pull you off base. Some people see that you have potential, and they are waiting to pull you off base. They want to be able to sit back and say, see there, you thought you were so high and mighty, but now you ain't nothing. You just like all the rest of us. They want you to lose your anointing. Anointing, write this down. Favor with God. They want you to lose your favor. You don't want to be huffing and puffing and praying for somebody, and you have nothing coming to your assistance from God. When you call on the Lord, you want to be clear that he will hear you. And if God does not change, come on now, I'm going somewhere, the circumstance, he will change you. Get this text. Ahab, bad guy, said to Jehoshaphat, good guy, come go to battle with us in Ramoth Gilead. Jehoshaphat said, without thinking, when is the last time you did something without thinking and you paid a serious price for it? That's why you got to be careful, young people. If you under 21, between 16 and 21, raise your hand. Let me see you if you're out there. Thank you. I see you back yonder. You got to be careful of the folk that you ride with, because you can be dead in a car with the wrong person and you are not behind the wheel. Young women, you got to be careful with guys you go out with, because you can wind up pregnant I'm talking to somebody, as a result of a thing called a date rape drug. Y'all getting mighty holy quiet on me this morning. Some unholy alliances can get some of you old folk to be grandparents before you ready and before you intended. Ahab, bad guy, said, go with me. I fed you good. Cornbread, turnip greens, fried chicken, spare ribs. I killed some sheep and I fed you lamb with green mint jelly. I fed your belly good. You owe me. Don't let somebody sucker you with that just because they do something for you and then they play that trump card and say, now you owe me. I ain't gonna talk about you church folk. Let me talk about the world now. I used to be in the world, so I can talk to you. Some guys, brothers, please don't throw nothing up at me. Please don't. But some guys would take a girl out and wine them and dine them, y'all. I see some heads nodding. And then they take you out and they feed you and they liquor you up and they bring you chocolate and say, now you got to give it up and turn it loose. I done spent all this money on you. Ain't gonna be no handshake tonight. I know y'all deep on me. But I got some brothers out there saying, I sure wish he'd move on from that one right there. I wish he'd leave that one alone. Ulterior. Am I preaching to somebody? The man will take you out to the finest place in town and buy you a necklace to put around your neck and wine you and dine you. And he expects, because he's put out, ulterior motive is, I did this because I'm expecting you to put. Jehoshaphat already had it going on. He had favor from God. He had riches in abundance. So why would he ally himself with a bad guy? Without thinking, he committed himself. And it said, my people shall be like your people. In essence, we'll go with you. Then he had what I call a sanctified attack of conscience. You know, sometimes church folk, especially sanctified folk, will do stuff, know it's wrong to do, but do it anyhow. And then later on, we'll have a sanctified attack of conscience. We'll realize that we just did something that probably is going to get us in trouble with God. I'm in the text. Stay with me here. So, as if to cover his flank, his posterior, look at the text. Jehoshaphat said, listen, I'm going to go with you. Wrong. That's bad right there. I'm going to go with you. But I think we need to try to get a word from the Lord. Well, why we got to do that? We already committed to this thing. I already told you, I'm going with you, and my folk are going with you. There are some people, church folk, Christian folk, who will make a definite commitment, don't bother about checking with God until much later on, and then when they get an attack of conscience, they say, oh, I think I better pray about it. But you've already said you're going to do this. Look at the text, verse 4. Jehoshaphat said unto the king, first seek the counsel of the Lord. So I want you to be clear. I want you to be aware of making an impulsive decision. I want you to quit making impulsive decisions without first seeking the Lord. Are you with me? Because people can have ulterior motives for inviting you into something. Some people want to see you fail. They want to see you flat. Come on, talk to me. They want to see you flat on your face, and so they will sucker punch you and invite you into something so they can stand back and say, see there was nothing to them no how. So